How's it guys, this is Dayvy FPL and welcome back to another Fantasy Premier League video here on my channel. Now this video is going to be the first draft for the 2019/2020 season as much requested. We're going to be going over my initial draft for this season, and we're going to be going over some talking points about how I created the draft and also the players that I picked. So I hope you enjoy it, and leave any suggestions down below for videos that you want me to cover in the near future for this upcoming season. I know there's a lot of hype around this season, so I want to get as much content out there that you guys want. So hopefully you can tell me what you want, and hopefully I can produce it. So firstly, I just want to talk about this team right here. I know you're probably looking at me like I'm crazy and thinking, Davey, what are you doing? I can't afford this team. It's just simply too expensive. And just relax. This is just the top owned players currently. I just wanted to give you guys a little bit of an indication about who players are, FPL players are selecting and who are they buying. Now don't worry if you own a lot of these players, this is just simply a very initial estimate of who's going to be the top owned players, and right now there's about 500,000 FPL players currently, so I think that those are kind of the more avid players, to be honest. So I wouldn't worry about the ownership right now. This is just to give you a little bit of an indication. So we have Alisson, Button, good combination there. And as you can see, a lot of City and Liverpool players. Van Dijk, Digne, Robertson, Alexander-Arnold and Wan-Bissaka. Obviously, after his transfer to Man United, probably a lot of people are going to be trying to bring him in. We have Zaha, Bernardo Silva, Salah, Sterling, Mane, Jimenez, Wilson and Aguero. So these are all great players to look at, and all players that I've looked at, and are definitely some that are going to be in my team. So this was just to give you a little bit of an indication about how the almost template is kind of forming, and the players that are in it. So to go on to my first draft for this FPL season, as you can see, we've got a very good lineup. I've tried many drafts. I've sat here for hours trying to deliberate and decide on what draft to do, but this one kind of fills my desires the most and kind of gives me the most options to go forward with. I'm completely joking on that. This was simply just the team that I auto-picked when I created my lineup about an hour ago. So as you can see, it's a very good lineup. We got Sanchez captaining against Chelsea for the opening game week, absolute smasher there, and Alonso also. No, but this was just a little bit of a joke for a little bit of sense of humor. I know I'm quite a funny guy, but let's go on to my actual draft for this upcoming season. So starting in goal, we have Ryan and Button, the duo from Brighton. Now, I just wanted to give a little bit of a disclaimer here. This is completely a placeholder a situation. I simply just don't know who to pick for the keepers, and Ryan and Button are always quite solid. However, since last season, I've lost a little bit of faith in that Brighton defense after I think they only kept about 6 clean sheets. Yes, I am right. But if you look at Brighton's fixtures, they're not the worst in the world. Obviously, Man City away is not ideal, and then the double up of Chelsea and Spurs. But their opening fixtures aren't the worst, and Brighton goalkeepers always kind of get those save points. So looking at that, other options you could go for, probably a lot of people are going for Edison. I just don't really like spending that much money on a keeper. There's not that much returns on them, except for those clean sheet points. And I think that money can be spent wisely in the defensive midfielder or attacking positions. So to move on to the defense, I've gone for Robertson, Laporte and Digne as my solid back three. With Digne, you could also go for Coleman. He's also a great option. He ended the season very well last season, so you could also look at him. And with Robertson, obviously, there's Trent Alexander-Arnold. A lot of people are doubling up on that Liverpool defense, but I'm a little bit wary of that currently for my first draft. Opted for Robertson as he's a little bit less of a rotation risk. In my opinion, Trent Alexander-Arnold offers better attacking returns, but as I said, just that rotation risks kind of keeps me a little bit wary of him, and Robertson's the man for me. Another tempting option is Van Dijk, as he does offer that centre-back attacking threat off those set pieces, and he comes in a little bit cheaper than Robertson and Trent Alexander-Arnold. Then I have Laporte in my team. Very disappointed I didn't own him last season towards the end of the season, as he was absolutely destroying my rank. He is probably the most set centre-back in that Man City lineup. With Company having retired now, he's probably going to be playing every game this season. I really like him as a player. I think that he's a very solid centre-back, so I've opted to put him in my team just to cover that Man City clean sheet. Then we have Digne. As I said, with him, Everton ended the season on a very high defensive run, and they were keeping lots of clean sheets. And Digne also offers that set piece threat. He occasionally takes free kicks as well, direct free kicks and corners. So looking at him, he does offer some good value in my opinion. He does come in at about 6 million, so you could bring him in your team, and I think a lot of people are. Then we have Taylor from Burnley. This was one of the reasons why I didn't have the Burnley keepers in my lineup. If you do go for the Burnley keepers, that is solid in my opinion. The only problem is there, you're just going to have to decide who is the starting one. Probably down to Heaton in my opinion. I think it's his spot to lose, but there are those other Burnley keepers in the background carefully watching for their place. So I've gone for Taylor in this draft, as I do think that Burnley have some nice fixtures. They start off a little bit bad with Arsenal and Liverpool, but then they have a very nice run up until probably about game week 14. So definitely a long-term pick here in my opinion, and he does come in at 4.5, so not really that much he can do in that 4.5 position, as he is very cheap, but I think that he will offer some good attacking returns even, and I don't think he has too much competition for his place. Moving on to the midfield, I've gone for Sigurdsson here. I think that he is that playmaker in the Everton lineup, and I said Everton did end the season quite well, and I'm looking that he has another strong season. He's always quite a solid player in every FPL season, even when he was at Swansea, so I can see him giving us some nice returns there. Obviously, he is more on set pieces than Digne is, and he usually takes penalties occasionally. I don't really know who the penalty taker is going to be with Richarlison in that team, but Sigurdsson did take the occasional one last season. So looking at Sigurdsson, he comes in at 8 mil, which is a nice price. You could opt for Richarlison, as I mentioned. He is also a great option. I just think that Sigurdsson has had more of a break from the internationals and could come back a little bit fresher. Then we have Salah, who is currently at the AFCON. He is progressed to the playoffs now, so we'll see and monitor that situation and how it goes. Another interesting thing with Salah is that there's this talk about this extended vacation that he will receive from Liverpool after going to AFCON. I don't really buy into this too much. I think that he'll be coming back normal time and raring to go. He did have a little bit of a break before AFCON, so hoping that he does come back. He is probably the set player in my team. I really want him and Mane at the same time, but I just think that I'm going to spread the funds a little bit around and diverse the team a little bit. So Salah's coming in and probably will be my game week 1 captain. I know it's a little bit early to talk about the captains, but looking forward, that Norwich fixture at home is probably the ideal fixture. So I've got Salah in this draft. Then we have Zaha, who in my opinion will move to Arsenal this season. I just think that there's been too much media buzz around the move and the situation with him at Crystal Palace, and I think it will be a little bit disappointing for both teams if the move doesn't go through. So with Zaha, if he does move to Arsenal, that is an even better option. I think he fits right into that lineup, and he offers a very good attacking threat with a very good attacking side of Arsenal. But if he does stay at Crystal Palace, not the end of the world. They do have some nice fixtures coming up towards the beginning of the season. However, it gets pretty bad towards the middle, so I would look at transferring him out then. However, if he does go to Arsenal, that's even better, as I said. He's the type of player who can score against any team, so is kind of a little bit fixture proof, but I would be a little bit wary of him with that middle run there of those red fixtures. Then we have Sterling, who's also another set player in my lineup. It's basically been him and Salah the whole time. Sterling had a very good season last season, probably his best season. He'll be looking to continue that form, and I think with the way City play, he's a great player to have, especially with that, not only that goal threat, but also that assist threat. So Sterling comes into my lineup. He's also having a little bit of a break after the UEFA Nations League, so hopefully he comes back raring to go. It's kind of between Sterling and Aguero for me. I just favour the winger a little bit more currently, as I think he's gone a little bit more of an assist threat, whereas Aguero kind of has an increased goal threat, but with the way City play, they don't really play with that centre forward. Aguero kind of drops back a little bit and creates a little bit of play. So Sterling is in this draft currently. Then we have Jota from Wolves. A little bit of a controversial one. Basically, most of my centre forwards are a little bit controversial. But Jota comes in over Jimenez. I just preferred Jota a little bit, as I talked about with the UEFA Nations League ending early, and Jimenez currently playing in the Gold Cup with Mexico. I think he'll be a little bit fresher, and I just have memories, a little bit of memory loss, because I owned Jota towards the end of the season, and I preferred him a little bit to Jimenez. He was scoring a little bit more, and especially once he was moved to that centre forward position, he kind of came into his own a little bit, and he comes in a little bit cheaper than Jimenez. So I've gone for Jota initially. This can all change. I probably will go for Jimenez just due to his high ownership, and he just offers a little bit more threat going forward. Then we have King over Wilson as well. King comes in cheaper than Wilson as well, and he also offers some attacking threat. If I had to choose between the two and they were the same price, I would go for Wilson. However, due to King's reduced price and the fact that I think that he is the favoured penalty taker at Bournemouth, I think that just sums it up a little bit. You could go for either. Bournemouth have some very nice fixtures, especially initially against Sheffield United at home and then Aston Villa. Man City's not ideal, but they do go on a little bit of a nice green run here. Then going on to the bench, I have Button, as I spoke about. That's just a placeholder there. I'm not going to play him at all, a little bit of bench fodder. But then I want to talk about Chicharito, as I do have him included in this lineup. Now, since Arnautovic has handed in his transfer request, I do believe that he will be departing West Ham this season, before the season starts. And I think Chicharito fills that spot of centre forward immediately. Obviously, West Ham can sign a new centre forward, as I think they should, as they don't have that many options there. But I think if they don't, Chicharito is probably a set player in my lineup, as I think that West Ham they're not the best team, but they're not the worst either, and Chicharito is the definition of that poacher, always going to the far post or catching those rebounds and scoring loads of goals. One of my biggest regrets last season was signing Arnautovic instead of Chicharito when he went on that little bit of a goal scoring run. It's a little bit hard to talk about what Pellegrini thinks of him, because Arnautovic was still starting most games towards the end of the season, even though Chicharito had that goal scoring form. So just got to monitor that situation a little bit. But currently my centre forwards are a little bit budget, but I don't really mind that. Then we have Dendoncker, who's just signed a permanent contract with Wolves. A little bit of a 4.5 million pick there. Not really offers that much, some assist threat and some goal threat, but for 4.5, just going to slot into my lineup, maybe play the occasional game if he picks up a little bit of form, but probably going to stay on my bench for most of the season. Then we have Diop from West Ham. As I spoke about, West Ham's fixtures aren't the worst, and he does come in with that centre-back position and should start in that lineup. I just wanted a little bit of a cheaper alternative to a formal defender, as there's not many playing formal players. There's Reed, but I don't think he's going to get into that lineup. And the 4.5 lineups, they're not that many great players there, so I just opted for Diop. So this lineup is kind of how I'm going to go initially. This lineup allows me to kind of vary between lineups, go with 3 at the back or 4 at the back, and change from 4 midfielders to 5 midfielders or so, and so on. So I'm quite happy with this lineup. Comment down below what your lineups are. I'm interested to see what kind of people are going for. I'd be really interesting to see if you go for someone like Kane or Aubameyang. That'll kind of shake things up a little bit, but I'm probably opting for Salah and Sterling right now as my 2 expensive players. So, as I said, comment down below if you have any suggestions for this team or want help with your lineup. Now, going on to what a lot of people have been asking me, I've created my league for this season. I've called it Dayvy versus the World, subject to change. I could change that name. I just thought that I just needed a name quickly, so I thought this was quite a nice name. Code to join this league, BDFI35. So invite your friends and join the league if you want to participate in this community. I'd appreciate it, and hopefully we can get some prizes. I don't know if we're going to, but hopefully we can get some prizes for this league. And I think the real prize is if you beat me. That will be quite nice. Probably will. As you can tell by the title of this video, I've kind of taken a little bit of jokes towards the titles of last season with the putting your rank in the title. I don't really think we're going to be ending up as high as we did last season, but hopefully we can and have an absolute cracker again. But otherwise, we're just going to have a good season and hopefully win some mini leagues. So as I said, please comment down below if you have any suggestions or questions. And please like the video if you did enjoy, and subscribe if you're new. I'll be creating a lot of new beginner content for you guys if you are new to FPL, taking you through the gists of how to conquer this game and how to get better at it. Also creating some tips for you veteran players, and just some tips in general for most FPL players. So please subscribe if you're new or returning and have not subscribed yet. I'd appreciate it. And please like the video, as I said, and go watch my previous video on basically talking about the prices of some of the players. But otherwise, I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I will be signing off. This has been Dayvy FPL, and I'm out. Cheers, bye.